It's crazy that $461 million came into the Ethereum ETF and $403 million came into the Bitcoin ETF in just the last 24 hours. These are the most people coming in since July. Please pay attention to something very, very important. You might think this has nothing to do with XRP, but trust me, this is bigger than you think because Ethereum is growing so quickly right now. Being dominant, on the other hand, does exactly what you want it to do. Personally, this makes me excited about the market as a whole, which is good for XRP. Yes, there isn't a spot ETF for XRP right now, but think about what will happen when that comes into play. Will we see these kinds of moves into XRP? That being said, this is very, very intriguing because more money came into Ethereum than BTC. Wow. That being said, welcome back to the CryptoZX channel, XRP family. I love all of you guys very much. Thank you very much for all of your help. Please click that red button that says, I agree. Do it now if you haven't already. It takes the channel to a whole new level in terms of the formula. Your help would be very much welcomed. And of course, it lets me know that you guys like the changes. Anyways, if you look at the crypto markets as a whole, today was a great day. For those interested in XRP, keep in mind that its price has been going up over the past few days, going up 12.8% and now sitting at 333 Shi. In the grand scheme of things, people might not think XRP is holding up well, but I want you to know that XRP is holding really, really well right now at $3.33, up 0.5% in USD terms, but down 0.1% in BTC terms. We're almost exactly where we were last night, and the 24-hour trading volume is about $6.3 billion. But before we go any further, as always, let's clear something up. Anything on this station is not meant to help you with your money. As with any investment, should always do your own study before putting money into crypto. This means that business treasuries and funds have bought 371,111 Bitcoin so far this year. This is 3.75 times more Bitcoin than miners made during the same time period. Yesterday, we also talked about this, how the quantity right now is not. To keep up with the demand, you should know that the demand for Bitcoin is through the roof right now. You're seeing record high levels of inflows and interest in Bitcoin, which means that a lot of people want to invest in this asset class. You know, the Bitcoins that are being taken, it's just not enough to keep up. And that's where the scarcity factor comes in. Right now, the only people who are truly happy are those who have acquired Bitcoin in the last few years. This is because, in the grand scheme of things, only a very small percentage of people can afford to buy a single Bitcoin. And this is pretty much where it has been until now, when it's no longer possible to get, and only the big guys can get it now. But, you know, people would think that not many people would come for a $100,000 Bitcoin, but here you are. Big companies from all over the world are coming in, and they're coming in very quickly. And I want you to know that this is already happening with Ethereum. With XRP, we can already see that effect starting to happen. Even though XRP doesn't have a spot ETF yet, we do have those filings. But just think of how much energy that could bring in once that ETF comes along. Also, we need to know that companies are already raising money to add XRP to their balance sheets. This should give you a better idea of what the future might hold. But take a look at what Bank XRP says. Ripple versus SEC is now officially over. This is because the SEC reported that the appeals against Ripple and two of its executives, Brad Gerlinghouse and Chris Larsson, were thrown out. Done. That's the end of it. Of course, this is bigger than you think. But speaking of that, we did talk about how BlackRock might be able to list now last night, which makes sense to me. But look at what Nate says. BlackRock calls me out right away and says they have no plans to start an ETF for spot, XRP, or Solana right now. When we look back, I think this was a mistake. You guys need to pay very close attention to what they say, but we'll see. BlackRock has no plans to file for an XRP or Solana ETF at this time. This is what BlackRock told The Block on Friday. They're not going to put it out there that they're applying for an ETF because they want to know how big this could be. These people will plan how to do this if they want to do it. You know, it's not going to happen when people are expecting it. And look at the keywords. This is what I learned from it. They said that at this time, we don't do that. It's not that they said we would never do it, but that's what they said. Finally, here's a lesson for you all. Look at that. You may remember that some big names have filed for that ETF. Based on the dates, I think these will really go live soon. The due date seems to be IME in October. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but I'm pretty sure it's in that area. Of course, SEC needs to change its mind. It makes sense. Now that the case is over, I think it might be time for them to agree to it. It would be huge if they agreed to it, but don't count on it. You know the SEC will show up. I'm sorry, but the SEC doesn't think BlackRock will come clean and say that, yes, guys, I want you to know that we're going to do it again. Even if they said something like, hey, you know what? We're planning to do that soon, but we're not going to do that yet. What would have happened to the price? The price would have gone up right away. We need to know that we can't ignore these keywords. But look at what Subjective can do. By confirming their plans to start an XRP ETF, BlackRock isn't, obviously crazy. The price of the asset would go through the roof. Very well put. You also explained exactly what I mean. But take a look at what X Finance Built says. South Korea just turned on XRP, which has already seen a $1.1 billion volume in 24 hours, making it the world leader. The rise happened right after the SEC case ended. Fear of missing out, FOMO, is rising, and this is just the start. In the comments, please tell me what you personally think about that. Don't forget what Swift says. We want to work with tech companies to make things really easy to move between assets that are on and off the blockchain. I agree with Smoke that working together is very important. Next, let us check out what's going on with the price. You're a boy CryptoZX, which is what I've been talking about for months. You guys are always up to date, though. We have been talking about how you want to see the power go down for a few months now, and it has been. But I talk about every single post of mine. What's important about the dominance index? If you own an altcoin, take a look at this. We broke below the lows from July. It's cool that we're testing numbers again that we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. If we could drop below. On the other hand, BTC is moving back towards 117,000. So far, we've seen some resistance around the $600 range, but it's amazing to see how well BTC is holding up while dominance is falling. Of course, the fact that altcoins are in the green right now isn't a surprise. If you look at XRP, you can see it's making its way back to the upset. Naturally, as I already told you, there is resistance around $3.35. The most important resistance is around $3.39. If this can break out, I think we could start pushing up to all-time highs. And because of how dominant is pulling right now, you need to pay close attention. So far, everything looks good. I love what I see here. Why wait? If you haven't already, subscribe now. Join the CryptoZX army by clicking that red button that says subscribe. Also, please follow me on X. The link is in the box below the text. Stay safe and have a nice day on CryptoZX.